what's going on, dudes? Kalamazi here, and today I want to take a little bit of time and talk about day 2 of patch 9.2.5 and where Warlock is currently sitting in Sepulcher of the first ones. Now, over the past 48 hours or so, we've had a little bit of time for US to clear the raid out a little bit. EU's gotten a clear or two, or at least a chance to step back into the raid with 9.25 changes, and some things have shifted a bit in logs. Obviously, the Rygalon Scouring Tithe Kyrian bug has been fixed, which influenced Rygalon logs, and we'll look at that today. Plus a few other things that popped up on certain fights I think is worth, maybe giving a bit of attention to. So we'll talk about all that today. I also want to compare 9.2 to 9.2.5 logs, because some bosses like Halandris have been nerfed multiple times, and there were some builds on Halandris, even on like the Sausage, for example, that saw some play towards the end of 9.2, but were sort of like just hidden amongst like the hidden amongst the parses that were done earlier in the tier when the boss is harder, but allowed for a higher overall DPS output. So we'll look at all that today. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below in the comment section. I'll be sure to get back to you. Any week wars or add-ons or any profiles, or just if you want to hang out and stream in general, link down below. I stream 5 to 6 days a week on Twitch. If you want to swing by and hang out, feel free to do so. And also, I want to give one huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you for a million times, guys, for all support on Patreon. Really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, link up here as well as down in the video description below. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. I changed the name of this YouTube channel to Kalamazi with 2 eyes, like my Instagram and Twitter, which you should go follow if you haven't. But yeah, I changed the name from Kalamazi Games to Kalamazi with 2 eyes in case anybody has a bookmark or things like that. The games part was cringe, let's be honest, and I really wanted it to be more matching for other things like social media and things. Just in general, I didn't like the games part. So it is Kalamazi with 2 eyes. You can check it out up top, but everything else is the same. So now let's get into the video. Alrighty, so jumping right into it. First of all, this is indeed 9.2.5. Warcraft logs did partition this patch, which means all the logs you had in 9.2 are still there if you want to sort by, here, 9.2 or 9.25, but the current logs, the relevant logs, if you're looking at parsing and things, are going to be the 9.2.5 ones. So, scrolling through here briefly, this is overall for all DPS, right? Not just, a Warlock sort or anything. Destro is still doing pretty well in Vigilant Guardian. I mean, there's a lot of locks on Guardian, the Sausage, Zymox, 1 or 2 sprinkled in, Pantheon. A bit surprised not more locks here. I think they'll rise up a bit over the next few weeks when we have more reclears and things. Skrillex, I'm a little surprised there too, even though Fire has been doing a bit better. Same with Ellie. I think Barrel's doing pretty well too in this fight also, comparatively to where Demo was doing very well early on in 9.2. Halandris is not a good Warlock fight as far as like raw parsing goes. Lihuvim, actually a pretty decent Warlock fight as we can see here. Decent bit of Warlock sprinkled in. Anduin, also pretty big Destro fight. Lords of Dread, I mean, it's just, I know this person. It's just nothing but locks, permanent, 2-target cleave, pretty solid. Rygalon, we'll get to in a little bit here as well. A lot of Destro parses here. Not anywhere near as high as the old Destro parses, though. And Jailer, a Fire Mage, and a lot of Demo locks. Demo's good on Jailer. So, jumping into the 9.2 and 9.25 sims. So, I will close this tab out. This tab here is 9.2, as you can see indicated right here. This is 9.25. We're going to start on the 9.25 tab. Now, Vigilant Guardian, not a whole lot's really changed. This is, probably the best spec for the fight overall if you're going for raw damage. Destro, Inferno, Talent, Reign of Chaos, Wilfrid's, just big zooming. Now, there are a couple of Night Fae parses, number 1 and number 2 here, which if you go back to how things were in 9.2, it is a wall of Kyrian. Now, I do expect Kyrian to end up beating out these parses at a certain point, and long term, I do think that this is probably going to be more of a Kyrian fight than a Night Fae fight, but it's one of those weird ones where at times you have a lot of ad spawning, you can get good Kyrian Scouring Tithe cleave value, and at times you don't necessarily have that full value, which, like, I mean, you can make a case for Night Fae being better there or being worse in certain spots, 4-target cleave versus, 2 and things like that. So I'm not surprised to see Night Fae here, day 2 and a half, whatever this is, of 9.2.5, but I do expect long-term Kyrian to rise up and probably just overtake these Night Fae parses, because, like, even with the Scouring Tithe bug being fixed, it didn't affect this fight. The only fight in the raid it affected is Rygalon and the Jailer, but nobody played on the Jailer because nobody really knew how to do it. Once again, 9.25, moving on. So we have the Sausage, Daseni. Now, this is a mix of Demo and Destro. I'm surprised here, because if you look at how it was in 9.2, it's all Destro, all playing the Madness Kyrian build, because on the Sausage you have the Obliteration, or whatever it is spawning every once in a while. You can get Havoc Cleave, Havoc or Scouring Tithe, and blast it down. I do also expect Kyrian to rise up a good bit here, and probably push out a lot of the demo parses here over the course of the next week or so. Now, it's just sort of hard to deny the raw Scouring Tithe value you can get playing Destro on this fight. I mean, the highest parses we have here are 22k, 21. This is 9.2 once again. Also, this tab here. I know it's hard to keep track of. I'm sorry. Just no better way to filter it. In 9.2, the highest parses being 22, 21.7, 21.4. Not a whole lot really changed on this fight when it comes to Destro, right? The highest one here currently being 18.8, 18.3, 18k. So I think long term you will see more Destro coming up on this fight, and probably mirroring what we saw in 9.2 as far as Kyrian Destro is concerned on the sausage. It's cool to see Demo here though, so I do enjoy playing Demo in this fight. It is fun. So Zymox. Now Zymox is also a bit of a mix of Destro and Demo. Looking back to 9.2, we sort of had a similar mix, right? It favors Destro a bit here, more than Demo. You have 2 Demos and 8 Destros. Comparatively to this, we have a split of actually 6 Demos and 4 Destros, being 9.25. It's the same Inferno build. Zymox is a weird fight, though, because there are certain points of time where you can get very heavy Inferno, Reign of Chaos, Destro AoE value, right? In the intermissions. I forgot what percent he pushes at this point. I haven't killed it in 3 months, but like in the intermissions, you can get insane AoE value. But when it comes to being outside of that, unless you're doing a platform, it's a single target boss fight, right? So Demo has a lot of relevancy there too. Now, comparing the numbers from last patch to this one, last patch, the highest Destro parse is 18.9. The highest one here currently is 18.7, roughly. The highest Demo parse is looking at 18.2, and the highest one we have here is 18.4, essentially. So, I mean, Demo's putting up a pretty good showing. And I think long-term this is going to be a bigger Destro fight once you get, like, just the padding builds and the Inferno builds and all that. But Demo is actually pretty solid on this fight, you know, which might not necessarily be, I guess, thought of, envisioned as much as, you know, it appears to be a big Destro cleave fight, which it can be at certain points in time, but Demo can also get pretty decent cleave with Dreadstalkers, FTS, Implosion value, tyrant the intermission, getting big implosions going off with your 4-piece. It's a weird middle ground kind of fight, so we'll see. But it's pretty similar to where it was in 9.2. A mix of both. I expect long-term Destro to overtake it, but we'll see. Pantheon. So this is actually very interesting. This is the 9.2.5 parses. Yesterday, I looked in here on stream, and there was 3 parses. Number 1 was a Demo lock. Number 2 and 3 were Destro, and I said there is no shot that Demo ends up even being in the top 10 the next time I look through here, and it is not. Let's see if we can find it here, actually. There's a decent bit of AF parses mixed in here, which is a bit surprising, but hey, I'll take it. Yeah, it's right here. Here's the Demo parse. I mean, and to be fair, like, it's a great player, I'm sure. It's a 21.6k parse, which is great for Demo, but I mean, Destro in the final phase, give it Power Infusion, give it Lust, and just spam Rain of Fire infinitely. All you do when the 4 mobs are stacked up is just spam Rain of Fire. I guarantee if you go to his cast here, like, it's just Lusting, Infernal, and just Rain of Fire spam. Yep. There's a wall of Rain of Fires, 3 Immolates, and another wall of Rain of Fires. It's just the way Destro is in this fight. You have 4 stacked targets, insane AoE cleave. You're the best AoE, like, stacked AoE cleave spec in the game. Not really a whole lot to say about that. I'm surprised to see a few AF parses here, honestly, this high. I think if you look at like 9.2 stuff, there'll be some, but not as much as this. Let's see. This is 9.25. Let's go. Where's the 9.2 sword at? There's too many tabs here. Let's go. Oh, it's right here. Let's go 9.2. Take a look at this. It's a wall of Destro in the top 10, right? 9.2 sword. Yeah, there's a lot of Destro here. So I don't think AF is bad on this fight either, for what it's worth. I think AF is still solid here. If you need like big Ritualist damage, like we did in Prague a long time ago, we both played AF, and we just burned the Ritualist into the ground as AF locks, right? You would dot all 3 or 4 of them up and just blast them. But I mean, with Destro having the AoE that it can do now, and the fight being nerfed, I would just probably end up playing Destro on it for the fun, and also just the relevant damage that it brings on the bosses and the final phase. Long term, I think you're going to see a huge wall of Destro in this fight with not really anything changing. It's just too strong in the final phase. Skull-X, easy here. It's all demo in 9.2.5. Not a whole lot else to it. I believe there's a couple, let me see here. I believe there's like one or two, yeah, a demo or destro parse coming up here in 9.2. These are the 9.2 parses. People do play destro on this fight for whatever reason. If you sort by just destro lock, for example, there's actually a lot of Necrolord Warlocks on Skull-X, because Necrolord is indeed the best covenant on this fight if you're playing destro, theoretically, because it is the highest simming covenant. Is a Necrolord here. This is 9.25, right? Yeah, it is 9.2.5. There's a Necrolord here on Skull-X at the top in 9. This is the right sort, right? Am I crazy here? Oh yeah, sure, just all demo stuff. But yeah, a Necrolord here, a bunch of Night Fae, Necrolord here too. If you're playing single target, I mean, it's just Necrolord's just the strongest build there is out there, honestly. And to be fair, he got 3 PIs and 4 fairies with a what, about a 600-ish DPS disparity. Kill time's important here too, so I mean, not bad. But long term, it's gonna be a wall of demo. Not much else to it. Demo is the best single target spec we have in the game, and well, I might be a little biased there, but demo is your best choice when it comes to pure single target, whether you're in 9.2 or 9.25. So this is where it gets a bit interesting. Halandris is a weird fight. So once again, this is the 9.25 sort here, and this is the 9.2 one. Halandris is the weird one because it's a wall of like, look at the kill time, the kill dates here. May 1st, April 3rd, May 26th, May 31st, May 14th. Like, it's all over the place. Because this fight has been nerfed multiple times. Like, whether it's a health, whether they nerfed the health on it or nerfed mechanics on it, it's reduced the duration of the fight a good bit. Like, there's a 7-minute kill here, April 3rd, a 5.5-minute kill here. There's probably a sub 5-minute kill somewhere, I assume, maybe, possibly, if I look somewhere, maybe. If it's super fast, maybe, I don't know. 5:18. Either way, what I'm getting at here is, like, demo has become very odd on this fight. Because the timings are so fast, you push so quickly, you skip the first reclaim, and you should skip the second reclaim if you're farming this boss. You don't even get the shield anymore, and the bombs are on the ground for half a minute. So you really don't have to worry about anywhere near what you had to worry about before. And you really only end up getting like 1 tyrant in each phase. Now, you can get more. You can pop tyrants in the run, obviously, which is important to do if you can do it. But one thing that was brought up between TSG and I'm sure others as well, back in 9.2 era, right here, this is a high eye level too, dang, was playing Grim Inquisitors on this fight. Because, once again, if you're pushing at like the 55 1-minute mark, you're probably not tyranting. You know, I mean, you can tyrant on the move, but at the same time, you're not getting field value. You might not get an optimal setup. It's sort of awkward, right? But Grim Inquisitors with that 1.5-minute profile means rip it on pull, a higher like overall consistent damage because Grim Inquisitors, right? Rip it in phase 2, rip it in phase 3, maybe rip another one somewhere else. And interestingly enough, if you look at the actual 9.25 overall like parses here, let's go more in depth. They're all Wilfrids here in 9.25 top 10, and all Wilfrids here in 9.2 in top 10. But if you dig a bit further, it's like all the 9.2 ones, it's all Wilfrids here. There's a Chaos Bolt one, we're just sorting by Warlock, I guess, but it's whatever. A couple like Destro ones. But if you go into here, 9.25, it's a Grim Inquisitor's parse here. It's a Grim Inquisitor's parse here. There's a Grim Inquisitor's parse right here. On a 517 kill, right there. On a 539 kill, and on a 611 kill. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see certain locks ending up as one here too, one here too, one here too. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing other locks just playing Grim Inquisitors on this fight, simply due to just having really, really awkward tyrant timings. In the end, the boss is pretty easy if you killed it before. We haven't killed it in like 2.5 months. I don't know, 2 months, however long it's been. We extended past this boss before it was nerfed, obviously, right? So when we go back to it, we might wipe a couple times, but there's a good chance I might give Grim Inquisitors a shot in this boss. I think it's a pretty solid option when you have these weird, like, sub 1 minute phase 1 pushes, sub 1.5-minute phase 2s, and a really fast phase 3, and just bombs not really being a thing anymore. So Grim Inquisitors is certainly worth keeping an eye on. It's hard to compete with, 3 PIs and 4 fairies too. Just, I guess you got 3, but I mean, it's worth keeping an eye on and seeing where it goes. This guy's actually playing Grimoire Felguard. He's playing Soul Conduit. He's playing Grimoire Felguard, and he's playing Soul Conduit. So GFG versus SC will depend on exact tyrant timings when you're pushing. If you can get a Grimoire into every tyrant, because baseline minute-and-a-half tyrant, but Grimoire being 2, depending on travel time, it could very well be worth playing a weird GFG Grim Inquisitor's build here. But gotta see where it goes. Either way, worth keeping an eye on for sure heading into later parts of 9.25. Moving on from Halandris, we have Lee Huvim. So in 9.2, this is a huge Destro fight. The further the tier went on, basically what you do, you play the Inferno build, your guild pops Lust when you get the double Degeneration Automa right here in this set, and you look at the Warlock damage, and it's just wild. Not much has really changed. Good lord. Not much has really changed in 9.2.5. There might be a demo parse here and a demo parse here, but if you give it literally a couple of days, it'll be a wall of Destro again. They're even listing later on. It'll be a wall of Destro again. There's not much to it. You can get insane AoE value here, even without listing it. This is going to be a long-term just Destro Inferno pad fight. If you're doing like prog on this boss at this point, and you're having trouble meeting like the DPS check on splitting first, like the first 2 adds when you split the raid off, Demo's fine. Demo's fine for like final damage here too. But on farm, this is going to be just a big AoE Destro pad fest. Have a good time. You're on farm, and Godspeed. So it's also all Night Fae, because you can't get that consistent Night Fae or that consistent like Scouring, Tithe, Kyrian Cleave like everybody else can, right? Or on other fights like Vigilant Guardian, like Rygalon, for example, in the past, right? You can't really get that sustained cleave because there's adds at times, but at other times there's not. Anduin in 9.2 was a wall of Destro, all playing Cataclysm, all playing Khorane. Not a whole lot's really changed here either. I was actually assuming you'd see a bit more Inferno like on farm, just due to like getting insane value in phase 2. But you're also playing Madness, and you're also getting a lot of fairies in this fight too if you're playing Destro, probably because it's a really, really good fight for Destro lock with like 2-minute Inferno timings, if you can work in Madness as well. So it's basically the same thing. Khorane brings insane Lich King phase damage with First Strike, with the leech you have, with the extra damage it brings, the damage amp. And if you can get fairy in this fight, Destro is just utterly insane. We have seen a bit of a shift to Dark Soul versus Soul Conduit in the later parts of 9.2. A lot of it being based around getting fairies and things. I've seen a lot of parses not getting fairies, just playing Soul Conduit baseline. You can pop your Dark Soul at relevant points in this fight, like on pull, like in the Lich King phase, right? And get that big damage amp with the stacking Lich King buff with your Sigil, with your Ruby, with whatever, both times, and pop it again in the final phase. And once again, you're probably getting fairy in this fight as a Destro lock. Now, if you're not, and you're playing 3-minute build, there is some relevancy to playing Dark Soul. Like, I believe this person didn't get any fairies. I probably just lean towards playing Soul Conduit, at least give it a shot if you're not getting any kind of fairies, because, like, having a 2-minute Dark Soul and a 3-minute Inferno while playing Madness seems a bit awkward. But hey, at the same time, it still is a solid damage amp in relevant parts of the fight, so we'll see where it goes. But it's still a huge Cataclysm Khorane fight. Not a whole lot's really changed there. So, Lords of Dread. This fight's also pretty interesting, because I killed it playing Wilfrids. The other Warlock in our guild killed it playing Madness. Now, the highest 9.2 parse being 40k, the highest current parse being 36k. Some ground to be gained, sure, either way. There has been also a Soul Conduit parse here, which is pretty cool. There was some back and forth on what the better legendary was to play in this fight. You had the option of Wilfrids if you weren't getting fairies, which are hard to come by in this fight at times because of like healer CDs and things. Or you had Madness, because the thing is, you hold your first CDs for the first Swarm phase. Every raid does, right? You lust at this point, you hold Inferno's first point. So giving a Warlock power infusion with Infernal, with everything, you're going to destroy this phase. You're going to just melt the bosses, right? But the odd part is that, this is a fairy parse, I don't know. He did get a fairy. Let's do this, let's get rid of this. The odd part is that outside of that, you will not have your Infernal for every single Swarm phase, because you're playing a baseline 3-minute Inferno build. You're not playing this, like, they swarm, I forgot the timestamps, they swarm basically at 43, 3, 530, and 750, right? And he gets his Infernal, I can find this here, at, let's see here, Infernal, sort. There we go. He gets his Infernal at 42, 342, which is like right when the second Swarm phase ends. So there's no damage amp there, and you have for the final Swarm phase. So you sort of hold it for like half a minute here, give or take, but it still works out well because Madness brings such a big damage amp on top of the Swarm damage amp, right? If I was going to re-kill this boss, I would play Madness, even without Fairy. If you can get Fairy in this fight, your damage is utterly insane. It's like you're playing 3 legendaries. You have Madness, you have Wilfrid's, and you have your Covenant one. A Wall of Night Fae here also because there's no Kyrian value in this fight, really. And yeah, that's just sort of that. So I don't really see a whole lot changing here. Destro just destroys this fight. Best spec out of any class in the game for it, I think, probably. After the Swarm phase changes. And yeah, there's not really a whole lot else to that there. So, all right. Moving on to Rygolon. I'm going to say I have not looked at these Rygolon logs much tonight. I fired up this video and said I'll look at it when I get to it. So, Rygolon, 9.2. The highest parse is 28,000 DPS. I don't know how you get rank 1 and 2 here. It's pretty wild. The highest parse is 28,000 DPS. I scrolled through here before. The highest non-Destro lock parse in this fight of any class and spec in the game was a Frost DK at 20,800 DPS. He did 7,000 less DPS than the highest Destro lock. Destro was busted on this fight, getting fairies. If you can get Power Infusion and Fairy, you destroyed this fight. We couldn't get fairies on our kill, but it's okay. You destroyed this fight. The Kyrian Scouring Tithe bug on this fight gave you so much damage. Permanent, just huge crit buff, and more crit means bigger Chaos Bolt damage, right? So Destro Lock just annihilated this fight. Now, Rygolon was nerfed. I think his health was nerfed like 10%, things like that. Really shouldn't be that hard of a DPS check at this point. Highest parse being 27k and 9.2. Currently, let's see, highest parse is 20,700. So basically, actually the person that has the rank 1 and 2 on it, and 9.2 has the rank 2 right now at 25. Actually pretty cool to see. So Demo is putting up 17.3 in this fight, and not a whole lot really changed for Demo, honestly. It's the same build, it's the same thing. Timings really didn't change. We can sort by Demo locks in 9.2. Notice the highest Demo parse that was put up in 9.2 is 18,300 DPS. Now, currently the highest Demo parse is 17,300 DPS. There's probably a bit of give and take there, probably a little bit of wiggle room. But even with that being said, post nerfs and things, or post fixes, Kyrian Destro, like we were talking about, does indeed still look to be most likely the best overall build for Rygolon, just due to how much value you get out of casting Scouring Tithe on an orb and getting the big crit buff on the boss with PIs, with fairies, and things like that. Now, if you're not getting fairy, well, it's still putting up pretty good damage. I do think there's more room for Demo to climb here. Kyrian's probably still the best spec in this fight, or best Covenant in this fight with Destro and Madness, but that gap between like Destro and 9.2 and Demo is closed substantially. It's probably still Destro and then Demo, but Demo's tankier. I'm going to be honest, Kyrian Destro just feels terrible to play in this fight too. The bug was probably what made it feel bad, but raw damage-wise, it's probably still going to be a wall of Kyrian Destro, and not really a whole lot you can do about that. I'm going to play Demo and not re-kill, though. And finally, we have the Jailer. So the Jailer is a weird one. There actually was a Kyrian bug in this fight too with mind controls, but nobody really ever played Destro in the fight, I don't believe, and I don't want to play Kyrian in this fight anyways. But yeah, so Jailer, 9.2. Highest parse, 23.8 as Demo. The current highest parse now, 19.6. Not a whole lot to really say here. The fight has changed a bit. They removed some pools, and I think the strat has changed a bit. I haven't even looked at it, honestly, yet. But the big thing is that Demo is still good here. Demo is still the best spec. There's not a whole lot of Destro relevancy on this fight. It's a single target fight where you can get a lot of implosion value, cleave value, soul rot value during tyrants on mind controls, during torment sets. You can get just a lot of raw value. Demo's very tanky. A lot of damage in this fight goes out. Plus in phase 4, and just in general, a lot of movement. 1 minute tyrants, very strong damage profiles. Demo is the best spec on the Jailer, and I really don't think there's anything to argue about there. Playing Wilfrid's and all of that. So, yeah. Destro or TLDR Warlock, as far as like this whole raid tier looks, we're still pretty juiced up. We got some out of all the classes out here, I think the most dominating class out of like every fight is some Windwalkers here, some Survival Hunters, but overall it's probably Warlock with the highest representation across the fight. So things might have changed a little bit, but Lock still reigns supreme. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks for watching, guys. This video's already run longer than I wanted it to, but I've gotten a lot of questions over the past couple of days about how does Rygolon look, what's changing with Lords of Dread, what's going on with Anduin, how does Warlock look in the raid in 9.25, has anything changed? So hopefully this video will answer those questions for you. And TLDR, some things have, but I think it's going to pan out being pretty similar to where we were in 9.2. There's not a whole lot of changes to Warlock in general. The minor Destro 4-piece change, which really doesn't change a whole lot, and the Rygolon Scouring Tithe bug fixed, which, you know, sort of fixes Rygolon, but didn't really matter anywhere else. Kyrian Destro is still good on certain fights. Night Phase good on most everything else, and you can play Necrolord Destro on, I guess, 1 or 2 fights if you want to, but at that point, if you're playing single target Destro, just play Demo, because it's just, well, you know, better. So if I missed anything in this video, you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section. I will be sure to get back to you. While you're down there, smash the like and sub buttons. It helps out a ton. Any week warriors add-ons and profiles you saw in this video also, link down below to my Twitch, where I stream 5 to 6 days a week. They all are indeed available to you guys for free there, yeah. And also, one big shout out to my patrons again. Thank you for all the support, guys, on Patreon. Much love. Really appreciate it. Linked up here as well as down below if you're looking at supporting on there. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully over the next couple weeks, months, I don't know, sometime soon, we'll have some Dragonflight info to go off of and things like that. And I have some plans for Season 4 as well. Loot things, potential spreadsheet and things, depending on how it all goes pacing-wise. I'm hoping we get some clarification from Blizzard on, hey, this is the timetable we have for Season 4, and then Alpha, and then Beta, but we'll go from there. I'm excited for Mythic Plus. The raids will be cool if they're undertuned, because I don't want to reprog SLG or, you know, half the bosses that are coming up, but that's an issue on its own. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.